welcome back. Look at
Anyway,
us. Where
hey,
are you? Where are you right now? Where are you coming from for all of our
I'm in
listeners?
Budapest. Budapest. You
Is that how you say it?
you don't say Budapest because they're not a pest. Apparently, they have 44 letters in their alphabet or something,
Oh,
and the S-E makes a sh, so it's Budapest.
interesting. What language do they speak there?
Hungarian?
Oh,
That's a language, right?
yeah, I hope so. It's not just some like made up part of Harry Potter. Hungarian horntail. God, I'm such a nerd. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
You were just on vacay. What were you doing?
I was. I went and met up with a friend in Palm Springs, and I have a few thoughts about Palm Springs. I like love it, but it's so interesting. I realized that the longest place that I've lived growing up, besides going to college, was 29 Palms, which is right outside of Joshua Tree, which is right outside of Palm Springs. So I love that area. Plus, it was raining as I was driving in, and you know that like rain and desert smell. It was just like, oh, so nice. Palm Springs is fun-ish. I don't know how to describe it. It reminds me of Edward Scissorhands. You know that movie, Edward Scissorhands? It's very like cookie cutter,
Manicured.
industrial, manicured. It's almost like sterile. Like we were driving like Saturday morning and there was no birds, nobody walking their dog. I'm like, are we in a simulate? It felt like simulation. And then it also felt like Hollywood movie type vibes with like the
Mm.
mountains just being like those cardboard, those like rolling things that you just like roll on set and just roll off. That's what it felt like. It was so weird. But it was a lot of fun, very relaxing. And I do like that area. I went to Joshua Tree and I forget how much I love that national park.
Well, I liked your pictures. I saw the rainbow.
Yeah, so pretty. It was nice. It was a nice vacation. But how are you? How's your trip? Do you want to save that for another episode?
Yeah, we can go into it later. It's been really good. I feel like I've wanted it to be like the solve for all my problems, which I think very quickly I was like, that is not what this is.
Yeah.
This is like a reset, and I'm not gonna, I don't think I ever will have this like revelation that's like, Erica, this is the path you have are to be on, and this is what you have to do. I've been in denial that I've been sick, and it's catching up to me. So hopefully, I can make it through the rest of this journey.
You're close.
I'm
Just a few more
close.
pit stops.
Medicine here, also the fact that you like can't buy medicine in a grocery store, you have to go to a pharmacy, and pharmacies close at like weird hours, or they like weren't open on Sunday yesterday when I was there, and just
Yeah,
like,
the
and
struggle
then
is
today
real.
I went in and I was like, I need something for a cough. Like I need like a cough drop. And he was like, okay, this will help you with your cough, but it's not if you have a sore throat, which I also have a sore throat. So I was like, okay. Like I feel like cough drops in the US have like the, what is it?
Like,
Menthol?
yeah, to like to help your sore throat too.
Yeah, like it impacts everything that
And
is
I thought
involved in a
that's
cough.
what, yeah, I thought that's what a cough drop was, like to help relieve the soreness in your throat so that you don't cough as much.
That's what I thought too. I honestly feel like this is just a candy lozenge that I'm sucking on, and there's no medicine in it. But
That's
anyway,
funny.
it's
Oh,
been good. It's been cool.
it looks
Yeah,
fun. It looks beautiful. I can't wait
thanks.
to hear
I,
more about it. So you had this great idea of since there's what how many 3 months of I don't even know where we're at here
the
months
last
left,
three.
yeah, to kind of revisit some of our goals that we talked about at the beginning of the year. I like what you said, set intentions for the rest of the year, which I thought was really nice. It'd just be interesting to kind of see what we've done this year and what we plan on doing for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like usually I'll get to the end of the year and be like, oh, I wanted to do that. or like, oh, I forgot I said that, and then the year's done, and then it goes to the next year.
I
So I
know there's
kind of
literally
like
like 2
revisiting
weeks
it.
left. Yeah, and you're like, "Oh, I wanted to go visit, Mexico." I'm like, "Oh, well."
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you wanna start with
Yeah, I can
yours?
start. Well, I open this isn't necessarily like the most important, but when I opened my journal, the first thing that I saw was just about like my space. Like the first one
Mhm,
was creating a space, meaning like my room, like just kind of zhuzhing up my room a little bit. I don't realize how important it is to create like a space, my little cave of all like my knickknacks and see things that represent me in the room that I'm like living in. And I felt like that was like such a task that I did like right away. I was like, it must get done. I must have finished my room the end of January because I was just remembered like buying all of this stuff. It was like, oh, did the episode, said it was a goal. Now I'm just gonna go buy all of these things. I love my room. I love how I've like decorated it and how it represents me. So it's like a little thing, but also something that I'm proud that I was able to accomplish. And plus now I
mhm.
have like all of these things to carry on wherever I end up going next.
Yeah, it, like, set the tone for the rest of your year because you had your little sanctuary.
Yeah, like a space to come into.
Mhm,
Um, but the big thing, which I know we just kind of did an episode on it, but like the big thing that I've been thinking about lately and reflecting on based on like where I started at the beginning of the year, where I'm at now, what's left is like job and career aspects of things, which I feel like you can relate. I don't know. It's kind of like a struggle right now. I'm not going to lie. We just had an episode talking about fun employment, and I'm just like in this weird spot, specifically right now, it being the first week being like without a job, and just like so many different directions that I can take, so many different opportunities and challenges that come with those opportunities to like think about. So I'm just in a weird spot, and it's a little different than how I was when I was thinking about the year ahead. I envision myself like walking down this path and like trying these different things, but not necessarily being unemployed while trying those things.
mhm.
And to just also see like to be excited to leave the past job and like explore a new job that does the same things, and then for it to end in a very similar way, it was just kind of like interesting. I wouldn't even say frustrating. It was just kind of like unexpected. And then the thought of like,
Yeah,
oh, well, you never know like what's going to happen. So there's like a lot of thoughts, and it's not very like a clear, I don't have like a this is what I'm gonna do. Like this is I figured it out and I know what I'm gonna do the 3 months. It's just something that's like I can't stop thinking about. And I really don't have I wouldn't say I don't have a plan, but I don't have like a end destination, like I'm working towards something right now, which is like frustrating. And I know we talked about before, which is nice. But I think as far as like when you set like an intention or a goal at the beginning of the year, I kind of want it to be like a have this job, period, or like start this career, you know what I mean? And it's not
mhm.
really where I am.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel like that's relevant to what we just talked about, and really where it's like, okay, we have 3 months left in the year, what the heck am I doing? Type thing. And I think also these next 3 months are always such a whirlwind with like all the holidays and traveling back home to see family, and there's events with friends, and it's like trying to be present and enjoy those while also like thinking forward and like, okay, when this whole whirlwind of these 3 months is done, then what? Where am I gonna be? What am I
Yep.
gonna be doing?
Yep.
It's funny because I had put on mine, like, listening back, I had, like, really specific things, like, similar to you with your bedroom, I had that with my bathroom and, like, building a little sanctuary in there and investing in nice skincare products and blah, 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 but then other stuff is, like, I had potentially buy a house. I don't even have a job anymore. That's not happening. But it has been interesting this past week, like in conversation, there's someone who was on the trip who manages or like does vacation rentals. And like the high level of what he does is like if a place is leasing their apartment, for example, he'll offer them like $1,000 more a month than what they're asking for the rent each month, and says like he wants to manage it as a vacation rental, so he'll handle like all the logistics of it. The people who are owning the property make more money. They don't have to deal with the like vacation rental aspect of it, and it's a lot less than actually like purchasing a home that
Mhm.
you like rent out. And obviously, like, that is a very oversimplified way to go about it, but it did just unlock something in my brain of, like, there is an in between to these type of things. Like, I feel like I'm always like, "Okay, I have to, like, buy a house in order to be able to eventually generate this, like, form of passive income or something to where I can, like, rent it out in the future," and
Right.
that seems like such a giant leap, especially right now, but,
Right.
like, just looking into other avenues instead of this, like, huge investment that I don't feel like I can do at the moment. I do have, like, some thoughts on vacation rentals in and of themselves. Like, I know I, like, use Airbnbs when I go places, but I also feel like living in a vacation destination like San Diego, vacation rentals fuck us, and that's why rent is so high. So it's like I don't wanna be a part of the problem. Anyway, that's a spiral for another day, but it was just interesting to like have this past week and have conversations with this guy and then look back and be like, I was looking at buying a house for the purpose of someday being able to rent it out and have that and like perhaps there's another way I can go about that.
Yeah, that's kind of
Um
like exactly kind of what I was saying is, or at least trying to say, is that, yeah, there is no just like, okay, now I'm on this path and this is the only place to get to where I think I want to go. And I think it's really
mhm,
nice to kind of think that way at the beginning of the year to kind of help you point in a direction that you want to set the tone for, like you said before. I think when it gets to this time of the year, it's not so much like I've seen that like life is more complicated than that, and it's beautiful and it can be a little chaotic when you're trying to like think of goals, but it's also like nice to know that there isn't just one path. Like I can get to
mhm.
wherever I think I want to go by just taking a step in a direction and seeing what happens. Like I don't need to have everything lined up right now, which is like kind of been the theme of the past month, I think. Just like, it's
Yeah,
okay.
no, definitely. I think the few
I
um
just to let you know, I cannot relate, and there was nothing on here about buying a house. It was just more so of doing up my room, and that was my house buying section of goals.
Well, when we get into career stuff, I had, like, launch a campaign that I'm excited about and, like, things like that, and it's funny because it was, like, I was just not stoked on the work that I was doing. Like, I was, at the beginning of the year, really grasping at straws to try and find something that's, like, would give me excitement to get up and go to work every
Yeah.
day, and I did, like I launched the newsletter program that we had there, like, I did start things, but that none of it was like, "I'm stoked to, like, be involved in this."
Mhm.
I definitely think that I could have gotten there, um, but having this, like, forced hand and having to rethink, like, what I'm doing next. I'm glad that I did start my group fitness certification while I still had a job and like I still need to finish it, but that is something that I can work to do the rest of the year because that does make me excited and be able to potentially teach classes, a class or two by the end of the year. Obviously, that's not going to be enough to like support me, but to be able to like reignite or like do something that I'm excited about, um, I'm always adding music to my playlist of like, this would be good in a spin class. So
Yeah, it definitely gets your, like, inspiration and, like, motivation up when you're doing something that you actually care about. I don't know, I'm trying to be like as real as possible. And I think just literally in the moment that I'm in right now, I need to find a balance of like wild off dreams that I would love to do. And then the negative of like, oh, well, I can't do nothing. So I'm just going to be stuck with a job that I don't like, which obviously didn't
Mhm,
work for me. So now I need to find a balance. And I don't really
mhm,
have like a clear goal for the end of the year when it comes to career. So I feel like my intention when it comes to that is just kind of like stay positive when it comes to this kind of thing because if I put too much, what did you say before? Like too many eggs in one basket of like all I want to do is teach, which is something that I've talked about, or like all I want to do is go back to school, or all I want to do is whatever it is, it kind of
mhm,
limits, and then it makes me feel like at the end of the year, like if I didn't accomplish that or if I've changed my path or it doesn't become something that I necessarily want to do or can do right now, I almost feel like a bit of a failure. So I feel like
mhm.
the intention for that is just like stay positive and
The thought of like, "Okay, I hate the thought of going back to a 9 to 5."
right,
That doesn't mean tomorrow I'm gonna start a multi-million dollar company or my own thing. Like, it
right.
doesn't work that way. There is an in between in everything, and so I don't need to do something that I hate that whole time, and I can find like, I could teach spin classes, I can work teaching evening classes for ESL, I can like, bits and pieces while I'm building whatever it is,
Right.
getting my financial planner, like, then I'm trying different things and also working on stuff that is gonna 5 years down the line, whatever, hopefully be something bigger that can
Mhm.
support me long term. But yeah, to your point of like, you are still gonna have to take opportunities as they come, but being selective with which ones they are.
Yeah. I feel also too like now that I'm talking about it a little bit more, feel like very positive, and I also feel like I said, like it's just life. There's no like right way to walk through it, and right now it's all like a learning opportunity. It's all everything that I've just went through is not a negative thing. It's an opportunity for me to learn like what it is I like and what I don't like, and instead of it's not the destination, it's the journey. Oh my gosh. And so, I'm not like in a rush to reach my destination because that's not a thing. So it's like, okay, I've
Mhm.
completed one thing, I've learned from it. What is the next like step? And then the next step and then the next step. So I feel very like grateful about it's my thought process when it comes to like career and stuff. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, looking forward to see what the rest of the year brings on that aspect. But the other
Me
one that I wanted to
too.
talk about was one that I looked over was relationships. And when I got back from Florida after being with family and it being like, the end of June into July type thing, I kind of reevaluated my goals too and kind of created like a 3 month, 6 month, like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, like little plan thing, like drew it out. I don't know. I had all this time apparently. Maybe I was like stuck on a plane or something. And I had put in not the 3 month section, not the 6 month section, but like in the year section of like really take some time to find a life partner or something, something like that. And then I go back to look at what I had put at the beginning of the year. And it was more so like relationships with like friends and taking time to like be with like family and friends and stuff. And so it's just interesting that's like even when I'm like fantasizing my years ahead, I don't put like in the near future that I'm trying to like find someone, but what I did put in the near future was like building friendships and making time for family. And I don't know, I kind of felt like that was really special. And I think I'm pretty proud of myself and how like I've taken the time, like I've done, family vacations and caught up with family and made that time, but also has like made time to see like friends and make that like make space for like really decent important friendships in my life, and I'm very grateful to that. But I also just think it's hilarious because when I'm talking to people, like just in life, when I'm just like talking to you, I feel like I mention having someone or like having a boyfriend or being in a relationship, like, oh, that would be so nice, or oh, that would be so nice. But literally, when I'm like manifesting, which isn't manifesting, but I'm writing it on a piece of paper, I don't even put it in the near future or, something that I even think to put on my goal. So I just found that
Mhm.
a little funny.
Yeah, I think, and I'm similar, it's like you're scared to manifest it because you don't believe that you can get it
For
that
sure.
quickly.
Yep. So it's like
Yeah.
it'll happen, but over there.
Yeah, and it's okay, like, it's down the line if it doesn't happen, that's totally fine.
Yep,
Yeah.
literally the words that go through my mind when I reread it and when I went over that is like, "Oh, that would be like a good like intention." But then I started thinking like, "Oh my god, it's like cuffing season. What about if I just like jump in with someone because they're lonely? I'll just wait until like next year." And I'm just like, "Wow, this is just an interesting thought process I just had when it comes to relationships."
Yeah, yeah. Well, listening back to my side of the relationship piece, I also had like prioritizing friends and family, which I do think I've done a good job of this year.
Mhm.
But my dating one was to be more bold. And
Feel
it's
like
funny
yeah.
because yes and no. It's funny because I feel like I've done it when I've had like liquid courage, but then I'm attracting those type of people. And I had this like solo time in Santa Barbara before I flew to Croatia, and I took the time to do the thing we've been talking about, and I wrote a letter to my future partner, and it was like a very emotional thing. Like I've avoided doing that for so long,
I know I need to
and
do
I
it.
feel like yeah, you should, but like when you're ready, whenever that is. I had to be in a good headspace for it, and I feel like when I was at home, I would constantly just distract myself with, like, I need to figure out my job, I need to work on podcast stuff, like, I have other things to do, and so
Yeah.
when I, like, got off social media for the weekend, I, like, really was just, like, with myself and my thoughts and not being, like, social with anyone,
Yeah.
I was able to do that. Anyway, as I was writing all the things down of, like, I framed it as almost like a thank you note of like,
Mhm.
thank you for being this, thank you, like, thank you for being patient, thank you for teaching me things, but also being willing to learn, thank you for blah, 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 all the things. And I was like near the end crying, writing it because I was like, just it would feel so good to be loved by this person and to have like a relationship with this person that I've just written this to because they
Yeah.
sound amazing. But then it's like, okay, I'm off the apps because I don't think the person who I'm like trying to attract is on them.
Yeah.
I also am like not really trying to like drink as much, kind of. And like like if there's a party, I want a party, but like, I
Yeah.
don't think that my person is going to be at the club.
Yeah.
So then what I had said in the beginning of the year was to be bold. And then what I was thinking about this past weekend was that I need to be more bold, but I need to be more bold in like my authentic self. And I feel like you're to your point of like manifesting it in the future or like that fear of like I don't deserve it right now. I feel like that is why I'm not bold in my authentic self because it's like that is scary. That is me being the most vulnerable and like showing up as who I am. And that rejection, I feel like would hurt the most out of anything. Like
Yeah.
to get rejected on an app, I don't fucking care. To get rejected when I'm drunk, probably don't even remember the night half the time. So I don't care.
Yeah.
But when it's like, if I'm on a hike and I say hi or whatever, like I was just on a walking tour and there was a really cute guy and I was like, I should just like literally say hi and be like, where are you from? But I like couldn't do
I know. Yeah.
it.
It's so real and relatable. I have no words. Like it really is like being true to yourself and like really thinking about that on like a day-to-day basis and then adding in like the love aspect when you're trying to like get someone is so hard. I don't know. But that is such a good exercise. I need to do that.
It is. It was really good. And then I met this girl this past week who kept saying like, you attract, you don't chase. And I've been thinking that in my mind. It's like I see someone cute and I like avoid making eye contact with them don't say hi, and then I'm upset when, like, we never talked or, like, they didn't come over to me. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not
Literally
giving
same.
them the option to do it." Like, no, I'm not, like, chasing them down and, like, following up a million times, but, like, maybe I could appear welcoming and interested, and then I would attract them to come and talk to me, you
Yeah.
know? Like, that is what has been playing in my mind too, because I don't want to be, like, chasing someone or begging for attention, but I also need to be, like, approachable.
Yeah. I also think you said it too. It really matters where you're putting your time and how you're putting your time. And it's like I say like, "Oh, I don't want the apps. I'm not going to meet someone when I'm like out at the club. I'm not going to meet someone doing this or doing that." But it's like when I fantasize about meeting this fantasy person and I'm not at those places, but then I spend absolutely no time at other places or doing other things or anything like that, even just showing up. Like I don't have to talk to anybody or do anything, but just like inserting myself into another space, community. I'm like, well, duh. But yet I still don't do that. Again, not necessarily ready to be like, I'm ready to look for love, whatever fuck that means. But I'm also like, let's look at me a little bit and what I need to do and where do I spend my time and what's important to me and how do I like fuel myself and refuel my energy and my space and where am I the best person, like the best version of myself? Like, is it really at these places or is it going to be somewhere else? Because that's how I kind of have been looking at it lately is like, okay, well, where do I want to like put my time? Like, just remove the love aspect of it and just like where and what do I want to put my money? Where do I want to put my energy, my time, all of those things? And then maybe we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will.
One thing that I think is like a continuous thing to work on, especially now that it is about to be the holidays, is like my relationship with food and like eating, just like taking care of myself. I feel like when I'm stressed, like when I came back and over the summer while I was like normal. I feel like I was working out. I felt like I was eating healthy and like meal prepping. And then when like job stress starts to happen and it gets like busier and busier, that is like the first thing that kind of like falls off the handle. So I'm excited to like spend this time to get back into like a healthier routine. But I also am
Mhm.
like excited for the holidays, but also like, okay, it's the holidays. Like it's fine. Like don't be hard on yourself, do whatever. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when it comes to my relationship with food, is like I'll just be so like hard on myself, like, oh, well, like I didn't work out, so I really shouldn't eat it, even though I know I'm gonna eat it, and then I like bully myself for eating anything after. So I
Mhm.
just think that that's important to note as we get closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good. I actually had that related to because earlier I had said, like, "I wanna get my IUD out and be in tune with my body," which, like, I did get my IUD out, and again, it's like I thought that I would just be like, "Oh, this is what my body's saying to me." That's not how it works. I actually have to, like, be intentional on, like, what food am I putting in? How do I feel? So I
Yeah.
had food too in that aspect of, like, okay, now I have no, like, fake hormones inside of me. This is all natural, girl. I'm breaking out like crazy. My skin is not happy and I'm just like frustrated. But instead of like turning to food, which I know is a culprit of a lot of those things, I'm like in denial.
Yeah.
Literally behind my computer right now, I have a whole bag of Toblerone. Is that what they're called?
Toblerones, yeah.
Tobler like the minis, and I'm just
Yeah.
eating them, and then I'm wondering why I have acne, and it's like,
Same.
I don't wanna bully myself for eating chocolate, but let's, like, figure out a balance here.
I that's exactly how I feel too. Or just like I know that I like to eat. So if I'm going to eat and fill myself, like why doesn't it be something that like tastes good? I enjoy cooking, so like that meal prep aspect of it all of like to make a decent meal, to be full and fulfilling and it also tastes good and it's something that I cook. Like I love that, but it takes up so much time and energy. Like I really have to plan to do those kind of things or to cook so that it's prepared for the week and yada yada. So I'm excited to take this time to get back into it and like come up with a routine and get maybe even get some like, let just make it fun with it. Like get new recipes, try new things, like use this time to have stuff ready so that when it does become stressful or I'm like driving home, like I know what makes me feel good. Because it's not necessarily cutting out chocolate entirely, but it's literally gotten to the point where it's like, I didn't meal prep, I didn't make dinner. I'm stressed, I'm hungry. I didn't eat lunch because I've spent the past 2 months just like not eating lunch. So now I'm so hungry, but there's nothing here but shit. So I end up just like, oh, like a bunch I don't really eat chocolate, but like I don't even know cereal or like those peanut butter nugget pretzel things I fucking love. So if I'm hungry, like those are fine to eat. They're not an unhealthy snack. They're fine. But if that's like all I
The
eat in a
only
day,
yeah.
it's just like come on, like no wonder why I feel like so bloated and like just heavy because I just have nothing but like bread and peanut butter in my stomach. Like it's a lot. So and I know it too. It's not a surprise. So just like continuing to remember that I think is important. But
Mhm,
yeah, I think on like the health side of things, I haven't really like gone to the doctor and that wasn't really like one of the things that I wanted to do this year, but the one thing that I did want to do this year is kind of consistently go to therapy and I'm pretty proud of myself. I've held to it. I found like a good therapist and have continued with that and just making it way more of a priority than I feel like I even think back to how I was last year when after the move and still having like struggling finding a job and all of those things. So to have kind of that one like backup and helper to know like accountability too of just like I'm working towards something or I'm taking care of my mental as I'm taking care of everything else is just like a nice way to validate myself of like, look, you set this as a goal and now you're ongoing and continuing it even now and for the foreseeable future too.
mhm.
Nice
No, that's
job.
awesome. I'm glad you did it. I'm high-fiving you from afar.
Thanks.
It's easy to not wanna go when life is easy, seemingly easy, and
Mhm.
then when you're, like, in the pit of despair and you're like, "I need to go," then I feel like, "Wait, I'm reversing it all." But you know what I'm trying to
Yes,
say. When
yeah.
things are hard, it's easier to want to go. When life is easy, it's easy to not want to go. But I
Yes.
feel like it's that time when you're like, "I'm doing fine, I don't really need to talk about anything," is when, at least for me, like, I'm so glad I stuck with it so that right now, in this time of my life, I'm not, like, about to do something crazy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, I have a good head on my shoulders, so it's good that you found someone that you like.
Yeah.
So, I guess this you had made the comment earlier about, like, where you're putting your time, um, and, like, being able to, like, attract a partner in that way. I've been thinking a lot about that literally in the last 2 weeks, and, like, I think with this extra time of not having a job and the holidays coming up and just like so much going on, prioritizing these things like eating healthy, but also like you and I both love being outside and like making time for hikes and making time like to go on walks, even if you can't go on a hike, but like prioritizing being outside and being active. Um, I feel like I've done a good job of like keeping a somewhat consistent like fitness routine this year, but I think I like now that my gym memberships are done, I'm not paying for them anymore. I want to get outside and like use the world as my gym. And so continuing to like do that through the end of the year, which I know is harder when the weather gets bad. So taking advantage when I can of like being outside. And I'm glad we like went on our camping trip and have done those things when we could.
Yeah. I think too, at least for me, like I love fall, love winter and the snow. And so going home and like being able to maybe save up for like those kind of activities. So it's like, again, different than a gym membership, but it's still like just such a fun way to go out and do stuff. Maybe go like skiing again and just like utilizing, I mean, like we're in San Diego and we have jackets. So it's not like difficult for us to like go on a hike on any given like day or a weekend. And there's so like other like so many other ways to explore around here as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm so glad we've done a lot of like outdoorsy things this year and like camping trips and things like that. So, and you just like I said before, is like I just feel better. I feel like more like myself and makes me just feel so good.
The times we've surfed are some of the, like, highlights of my year.
Yeah.
Like, being in the water for an hour is so nice, and it's like, when Groby and I the other weekend, like, went out and, like, we barely like, there was no waves for some reason, it was, like, the flattest I've ever seen it, but even just, like, being in the water, I was like, "This is so easy to do,
Yeah.
and I live here." And I was looking at my journal, and I had had this vision for myself of moving to San Diego and being the, like, surf every morning person, and it's like, okay, maybe I don't need to go to that extreme, but, like, I can strap my surfboard to my car, go surf for an hour, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a hassle.
When I fantasize about like my life or where I'm moving or something like that, I think of this like person that I want to be. And I feel like everybody does it. It's like a part of life, where you just like kind of envision it's like healthy to fantasize. But sometimes I like want to make it my whole identity. And that's just not who I am. So I feel very grateful. Like the perspective that I've gained this year is that I have so many different things that I'm interested in that make me me, that I don't necessarily need to like adopt one or like only do one to make me happy. So like, instead of being like, cuz even now, and the reason why I say this is because as you were talking about like surfing and like surfing all the time, like my first thought was like, fuck, I have not gone. I can't even remember the last time I've gone. Like I haven't really gone. I haven't really made space, and you're so right. It's like 10 minutes down the road. Like even within this like 2-second span, I'm spiraling. And I'm like, but I've done so many other things. Like, why am I trying to like limit myself to this one like identity of like one piece
Mhm.
of me that's like beautiful and so much fun and so relaxing? And yes, I love it. But like, just because I haven't done it as much as I said I was going to do on my journal like 7 months ago doesn't mean that I've like failed in that aspect. So, that was just like literally my train of thought, like as you were speaking. But I feel like I love that we are very outdoorsy people and can make space and time for that. I just feel better and happier, and it's like a way to relieve stress. I think for me, it's just like the planning. Like last weekend, I went on a hike that was like an hour away. And like, if I thought about it, I'm like, in the moment, I was kind of like, I don't really want to drive an hour, but I want to go see like my friends. Like, I should go. And it was like such a beautiful hike that's just like that was only
Mhm.
an hour, like all from the distance in between. There's probably like so many other hikes and so many different other things to see and do. And it only took like up a little bit of my day, and I got outside. The dogs were happy. I felt so good. And so you just forget until you're in it. And if you don't make it a priority and your behavior mimics like the bad behavior that you've been doing, it takes a little bit to like shift into that and fully become like immersed in that. But that's like what I wanna do. That's who I wanna be.
I mean, yeah, that I agree, and I think it's like I think my mindset goes to like this, these are like big things, or this is like a thing that I really have to like schedule out. And in a way, yes, until it like becomes just second nature.
Mhm.
But like if you're out and about and you pull over somewhere and like walk around and like just go for a little walk wherever you are. Like I was
Yeah,
thinking about this the other weekend. I was like, I could do this when I'm in a new place, I do this all the time. I could do this in San Diego
yeah,
whenever. Or
yeah,
like when we were kind of consistent about like going and jumping in the ocean on Wednesdays, that was less than an hour of our time. We
yeah.
drove over, jumped in the beach, walked back, made dinner,
Easy,
probably still watched the episode. Like
honestly. Have to, had to. Honestly, and the dogs are happy, everything was good. Yeah, I love when it becomes like something that, it's just something it's like habitual. You just have to continue to do it and make that time and space. And like I said, it's fine to not do it all the time or make a habit of it. And that's, I'm glad that I have that perspective of it's not like my entire identity, but to remember that those kind of things make me feel so much better rather than like, sitting down and just watching TV all day or just, going out or just drinking. And so I'm glad that this year seems to be like a mixture of a lot of different things like that. So, love that.
yeah. I think my like last two big ones, well, that I had on here that like are kind of carried over from the beginning of the year that I haven't really done yet and
Mhm.
that I would like. I think they'll allow me to do all the things we're saying, which is like better tech boundaries. I
Mhm.
had said that at the beginning of the year, and like I need to reset that. And then budgeting,
Mm,
now that I
yeah.
literally don't have my same income, like, when I turned off my phone for the weekend, I literally read an entire book, and I was like, "Why?" Like, I still did so many other things too, but, like, the times that I probably would have been on my phone, I picked up my Kindle and read it, and it just was, like, a really great reminder to me, not in, like, a shaming way of, like, how much time you literally have in the day, and all those in between moments when I'm, like, scrolling, that is just like, I'm just gonna, like, rest for a minute, and then that turns into an hour, and then that hour is gone, and now I have to make dinner. It's like, I think for the rest of the year, once I get home, I'm not gonna do this while I'm traveling, but, like, logging out during the week and only having it on the weekends, and usually on the weekends I'm doing things, so I really am not on as much,
Mhm.
I feel like will be a good reminder to me of, like, how much time I literally have in the week. And with this time of not having a job, I have so much time to do things and to try things and to look into things and, like, then I can actually budget.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me is like my big thing that's like on here, it's like sprinkled in, but it's like ongoing. But as I get older, the more and more I recognize it is just like my perspective and my inner voice, because all this external stuff, like I could talk about like not having screens or not like eating right and making sure I exercise, which is like all a given. And I also feel like I do those things like as much as I want to hate on myself, but like I do very well exercising. I don't eat like horrible. I'm not like on my screen all the time. I have a few vices here and there, but I think how I talk to myself, and I think the thing that like pretty proud of, like for both of us, is getting off of birth control, getting your IUD out, and then for me, just like not taking birth control. Not obviously for the sense of just like the things that we've talked about in the past on the podcast, but just like resetting and seeing what happens. Doesn't mean I'm never gonna not take birth control again, but it seems like an opportune moment. I wasn't in a serious relationship. I'm not going out and doing these things. Like I'm glad that I took the time to do that, but it wasn't it was almost like a band-aid on a broken leg of kind of like, oh, this is gonna fix all of my mental issues. Like it was only birth control that made me crazy. I'm gonna get off of it and everything is gonna be fine and I'm gonna eat healthy and I'm gonna get fixed. And it's like I always, it's not a surprise that I can be negative towards myself, or when things get hard, I like dig myself a hole. The way that I speak sometimes when things are hard is just like I have an attitude, or I speak negatively even like when I'm comfortable, and I catch myself doing that when I come home and I'm fucking complaining to you as well. And so it's like that kind of stuff can't be fixed by just like a good diet. And it's not necessarily
Mm.
that I feel like I need to be fixed. It's just more so like taking the little steps to better my mental health, because like there's going to be times where I overeat and just eat chocolate. Like that's not there's going to be times where I wake up and I don't have the capacity to work out. There's going to be times where like I don't know what I'm doing. Like just because I feel like I have maybe a clear path now doesn't mean that's going to change or whatever. Like life is so uncertain, and the only thing that is the only person that I have is like me and myself. And you've said this so many times too, and in your reference, it was more so of like love the body that you're in, which is something that I need to work on too. But for me, the big thing is like, how do I one show up to places, and like what is my inner voice telling myself? Because when my inner voice, like when I am, what's the like period phase when you're not on your period, but you're feeling, is it not luteal?
I don't
Wow.
know.
The one where you're like feeling so great and sexy anyway. Like I feel like when I am in that phase, I am like my self-talk is great. I love myself. I can stay positive. You can throw anything at me and I will be so great. I'm whatever. And that's like what, 9 days. So out of 9 days out of the month, I'm positive, and for the rest, I'm like, the world is out to get me. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm this and this and this. That's like not negative. And it's like
Mhm.
sometimes I find myself like just saying it to say it. Like I don't know if I want the validation. I don't know if I'm looking for something. I really don't know. But I'm like, I really need to like be better at that. It's an ongoing thing that needs work. And that's like the main thing that I feel like I need to work on, because it is true. And like, I don't like when I'm like that. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't make me want to wake up and go find a job or hang out with friends or go on a hike. It's like when I'm in that negative space is when my negative behavior happens. And then it's like I take, two steps forward to take five steps back. And so it's like not an easy thing to fix, and it's an ongoing process. But I think out of everything, it's something that I feel like I'm focusing on more and more because it just is more important to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
I
you
don't know
talk
how
to
to word
yourself.
that into an intention for the rest of the year, but I think that that's my main focus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like too, not having too many things to focus on with 3 months left of the year and all the other things going on the rest of the year is like focusing on that, I think will allow you to do all the other things we're kind of talking about of
Yeah.
like routine and fitness. And I feel like it's almost like it's cliche. And I'm like, are we saying these things and everyone's talking about these things? But I feel like it's also good reminders for myself, even in this conversation of
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is all a chain reaction of things. And like when you're stressed, for example, what was just happening, you stopped meal prepping, you stopped eating all your meals, like all those things have chain reactions. So then you quit your job. So now you can like it all one impacts the other. And so I
Yeah.
think the positive self talk thing, or just like really focusing and being mindful of what you're saying, will impact other aspects of your life that you want to get better at or change or
Yeah.
whatever.
I like say it and then I start to think about it. And I'm like, God damn, it's pretty difficult. But yeah, some of the other things that I just thought were things that I have been doing is like be more creative and paint more, which is something that I feel like is ongoing, but I'm glad about that. Outdoor activities, traveling. I feel like I haven't really I put like outside travel, which I haven't really done, but I'm also not too upset about just like where I'm at in life. It's just like interesting to look back and kind of see the way that you thought the year was going to go and then reflect back at this time to be like, interesting. Like, I'm not
I
upset or
know.
sad or mad or super thrilled either, but it's just like interesting to see the way that like life plays out.
Well, I was talking in that episode, I'm like, we're gonna go to Portugal and Morocco and all these things. And it's like that could still happen. Like
Yeah.
I was listening back and I was like, it's just so interesting how the path actually went instead of like this as good as the intentions were for the year. It just wasn't in the cards for us in that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
But that's not to say never.
Absolutely. Well, it's all about like timing. I'm not upset. It just like if that was something that we like would have like would have, it's just not the right time. Not even that, but just
Mhm.
like everything else that we kind of like talked about is most of the time it's not because we didn't want it to happen or whatever. It's just like things like that are so beautiful when they end up happening because they happen at the exact moment that they're supposed to.
I feel like I mean, this was like a quick activity, I think, for myself to like listen back or like look back at what you said and then be like, quick check in and how do you want the rest of the year to look? Because I would like to look back at the end of the year and be like, yeah, I accomplished a few more things, or like I feel better about this now, or like, I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of routine based stuff that I'm gonna focus on the rest of
Yeah.
the year.
I agree. Same here. I also think too, like for me, it was more so of a reminder that life is like everything constantly changes. That's like if anything stays the same, it's change. And so as I have this like need to like control everything, and so for me, it was more so of like, look, you can't control everything. Life happens. You're not on this like super straight path of where you're gonna be going. And so it was nice just to like reflect and see like all of the things that I said, even the things that I said I was going to do and did, that's great. But even looking back and saying like, oh, this is the things that I wanted to do and I didn't get to, instead of like being upset, like I said, it was just like, oh, it wasn't the right time, but look how it played out. That like
Hmm.
hindsight's 2020. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the year brings and what our goals for 2024 are going to be, because I'm sure those are going to be wild.
Yeah, these next 3 months are gonna determine a lot, I think, for the next year. So
really quick, we only have a few minutes left, but I had this like fantastic little movie date weekend to myself last weekend, and I wanted to share some of so I don't know if anybody's out there, like anybody out there is like so ready for fall like I am, but I saw that it was the first day of autumn, which was our first day of fall, whatever, was last Saturday. And so I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, say less. I'm about to watch all of the movies and get into the fall feel." And so I wanted to share some new movies that I've never seen before and some old ones that I think will get you in the mood for the season of fall. I definitely recommend going on like one last hike before, depending on where you guys live. Obviously, we live in San Diego, so we can go on a hike anytime, but I do know like there are some areas like it's literally it snowed on Mount Rose already, so I'm like it is getting to that time of the year. So yeah, get outside as much as you can, but when you're inside, so some of a movie that I've never seen before that I absolutely love that totally put me in the spooky mood was Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock and I forget
Some
her
people
name.
were just talking about this and that I have to watch it and that it's so good.
So cute, love it. Quick little movie, and I just love fall brings those like perfect late 80s, early 90s like movies with the like outfits and the hair. Just like I'm obsessed and I love it. Um Another new one that I haven't seen before, it's not new, but The Craft. Have you heard of that? Very
Mm-mm.
witchy, interesting. It's interesting. My sister loves it. It was I definitely if you're going to choose either of those like or choose one or the other, I would say Practical Magic. And then a rom-com that I just watched, a rom-com that I've never seen before is When Harry Met Sally. Loved it, watch it, so cute, I'm obsessed. And then some older ones that are like favorites of mine that I've seen a few times, but I haven't watched in a really long time. Good Will Hunting. Have you seen that movie? We've talked about it before with Robin Williams
This
and
is the
Matt Damon.
one. This isn't the Dead
Not
Poet Society.
no, no,
What
no,
is
not that
it's
one.
is he
Therapist.
like a
He's a
therapist? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
It is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's like the perfect time of the year to watch it. So go watch it. Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp, just fantastic. The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. So this is the older Haunted Mansion. Apparently, they're coming out with a new Haunted Mansion, and I just went to Disney World over the summer, so to like watch the movie that the ride is based on was fun. I've seen it before, but I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I'm like, "When am I ever gonna watch this? This is the perfect time." And then The Princess Bride. So, I don't know
Oh
if
my
you've ever
gosh.
seen The Princess Bride, but it's one of my mom's favorite movies, so I grew up watching it, but it's been a really long time since I've seen it, so to watch it over the last weekend, like, it's a cute, like, another rom-com fall movie, but it's hilarious and such a classic, so that was my little date to myself. It was so cute,
I
which is
love
like all
that.
I do is watch movies, and I'm a little embarrassed by how many movies I watched in a sitting, but it was so fun and totally put me in the fall mood. And so if there's anybody out there ready for spooky season, go watch these movies because they're perfect.
That's so fun. I need to
Yeah.
watch all of them when I
Yeah,
get
watch
back.
them again. But
I
yeah.
love that you did that. Happy spooky season. We'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah, see you next week. Love ya. Bye.
Love ya. Bye.